What we measure, we can improve. That's how, as a coach or an English teacher, I find the best ways to help my learners succeed. Things can get tough, and improving isn't easy. The key is to assess the progress they are making, to know what they can do, so I can give feedback that will help build their confidence and keep them motivated. With Cambridge, assessment is integrated with learning, helping me measure and guide my learners' progress, so they learn what they need to succeed. To get the most from every moment, to help their worlds grow. Because Cambridge is where your world grows.
Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Powering Up Life Skills. My name is Candela, and I'll be your host today. I work for Cambridge as marketing executive for the Southern Cone and Andes region. And I'd like to give you some details before we start. You will receive your certificate of attendance and the recording link after the event in the following days. Your mics and cameras are off, but you can ask your questions and comments on the chats. And then at the end, we have a survey. So we'd really appreciate if you can give us your opinion, your feedback. It's super valuable for us. All right. And last, I'd like to invite you all to try our Teachers Hub. This is a pilot website from Cambridge, and you will find the new AI lesson planner, also a wide selection of teacher resources, and the interactive versions of the teacher's books. So make sure to scan the QR code and try it today. All right. And now I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for being here, delivering the session. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
I will do. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good evening. It's evening here just outside Cambridge in the UK. So we're a bit later than you. As you can see, my name's Stephanie, Steph Diamonds Veyer, and I'm an academic, a teacher educator. I work at the University of Hertfordshire at the moment. But I've been involved in teaching for many years. I've taught all over the world, and I've worked with teachers all over the world. I also author, so some of my books include all of the teachers' books for Power Up series and various other publications. You can see those on the screen if you're interested. I always love to work with teachers and share ideas, so I'm really pleased to be here tonight. So thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to doing the session with everybody. Okay, so hopefully everybody's ready to begin. I can see people using the chat, so please do continue to use the chat during the session. And I'm just sharing my slides now. Hopefully, can everybody see them okay?
Yes, perfect.
The chat. Perfect, great. So, powering up life skills. Well, we're going to start with a little bit of an activity. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my day and how I feel at the moment. Maybe you could help me by putting some words into the chat. So today, or now, I feel, what do you think? I feel, any ideas? Can you put them in the chat? I feel, but a little, what do you think the words are? Any thoughts? I'm waiting for the chat. Excited, lovely, thank you. I do feel excited. I feel peaceful. I'm probably more excited or happy. Thank you, Amelia. I feel happy, but yes, Sylvia, a little nervous because I'm sure you're all experienced teachers. Some great suggestions coming. I feel happy, excited, but a little anxious, a little nervous. But I enjoy, what do I enjoy? I enjoy talking to new people, absolutely. I enjoy talking to new people. I was feeling terrified, not terrified, more, I was feeling a little exhausted. I was feeling concerned, yes, concerned, or I'm thinking of a word beginning with F. Worried would be good, or frightened. I wasn't frightened of the traffic. It's fairly safe here. Everyone's frustrated. Thank you, Marco. I was feeling frustrated. Could have been furious because of the traffic. Some great suggestions there. The traffic jam. Yeah, it was very heavy traffic. I was feeling frustrated because of the traffic coming home. But meeting teachers is always a pleasure. Lovely. Fabulous. Thank you so much for those suggestions. Okay, that is how I am feeling today. Now, we're going to do the same thing, but this time we are going to talk about what we are doing in this session. So in this session, we're going to think about life competencies in the, what do you think? Life competencies in the, any ideas? Amelia's very fast in the classroom. Rosa's there as well. Lots of suggestions coming in. Yep, so in this session, we're going to be thinking about life competencies in the classroom. We're going to look at how this can be integrated with a course book. Absolutely. With a course book, all course materials would work well. And we're going to see some examples of this using Power, and Sylvia's already there, up, Power Up. Let's see if you are correct. And yes, you are. You made some alternative suggestions which would have been just as good. So we're going to think about life competencies in the classroom, how we can integrate that with a course book, and we'll see some examples using Power Up. Of course, you could use other course books. And that's an activity that I use with my own students to set up the goals for lessons, to help them understand what we are trying to achieve in the lessons. Here's an example from, again, as I mentioned earlier, this is an example from Power Up. So this is one of the units from Power Up, and I show the students what we are hoping to do in the lesson to get them excited, involved, and to get them using their critical thinking. So here, in this particular lesson, what do you think the aims were for the students? So they're going to learn to tell, anybody learn to tell the time? Thank you. Absolutely. Then they're going to, after they've learned to tell the time, talk to our friends so they know they're going to do some speaking, and read a story. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. So you can see you can use this particular approach with your students to engage them with what's to come in the lesson. So setting the objectives very clearly so that the students also understand what they're going to achieve. And that example, as I said, was from Power Up Level 3. So I just took little clips, but you could use this approach or method with any book that you have or any activities you want to do in the lesson. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little mission in the session. At the end of the talk, you're going to become your own little kind of writing presenters. So you're going to summarize some key points at the end of the session. That is going to be your mission, to summarize a few key points at the end of the session. So I do hope you're taking lots of notes. Why am I doing that? Well, missions are very typical in lots of books now. Sometimes they're called activities or kind of final stages. In Power Up, they're called missions, and they go, children have to, or students have to complete 3 parts, which culminates at the end of the book. Here's an example of one. In this particular unit of Power Up, the aim is to use all of the language from the unit to make a flyer for a restaurant, for a kind of created restaurant. So your mission for tonight's webinar is to make sure by the end of the webinar you are clear about which life competencies we should be addressing in class. And second task, how can we integrate them into the classroom? We, as teachers, we're very busy. We're doing a lot of things. We are trying to teach language, we're juggling classroom management, our materials. So it's very difficult, isn't it, to think of additional things that you need to do in class. People always want more and more and more from teachers. So in the webinar, I hope to show you that you can address life competencies in a fairly simple and straightforward way, that you don't have to do lots and lots of extra work to do this effectively. How does that sound? Does that sound okay? You can give me a thumbs up using the emoticons, or you can just write okay in the chat if you're happy with that. Does that sound like a good plan? Sylvia's happy. Oh, lots of okays coming in. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you, Diego, Rotini, Nelly. Wonderful names coming through. Let's get started, Jonathan. Thank you. That, by the way, is what I call a check-in point. And I do that regularly through classes. So we've seen 2 things. I've set objectives very clearly at the beginning, so students know what we are trying to achieve. And I'm asking them in class, sometimes they do this, or they do if they're not happy, or they do that if they're in between. Online, they can give you a thumbs up emoticon or put it into the chat. But that check-in at regular points allows them to do a little bit of self-assessment and allows me to see how they are doing. And self-assessment is another feature of Power Up. If it isn't a feature in your book, you can add it very easily by doing things like this. So all of the things that I'm doing with you tonight are things you can adapt and you can do with your own classes. So we're going to start off by thinking about life competencies. And I have 3 questions for you. Don't start answering yet. Please wait one moment, because I know you're very fast on the typing. So the 3 questions are: what are they? Why are they important? And how do they appear in the classroom? What are they? Why are they important? And how do they appear in the classroom? We're going to do something called 3, 2, 1, but I will explain that in a moment. So we're starting off with a task for you. So let's go. Be strong, be ready. Why am I starting with a task for you? Well, again, this is a good way to begin a lesson. So in Power Up and in many other course books, we usually start with a video and some images and some questions. Here's an example from Unit 2 of the book that we're using as our example, where they have this image here and they're asked to watch a video and answer some questions. Why visuals and video engage the students? They introduce the topic and they give the teacher, they give you a chance to identify what students may already know. So I often begin my sessions or classes with an activity where I'm getting students to do things that may be a little challenging for them. The reason I ask them to do that is to see how much do you know already? Where do I need to kind of aim my lesson? So I've set you a task, which is asking you about life competencies. So what are they? Why are they important? And how do they appear in the classroom? We're going to answer the 3 questions throughout the webinar, but I'd like you to think about them now. The first question was, what are they? So what I want to do with 3, 2, 1, I want you to try and think of 3 answers for what are they, 2 answers for why are they important, and 1 answer for how do they appear in the classroom. So we're going to start off with number 1. Oh, people are already putting things into the chat. That's amazing. I'm going to actually share a different screen with you because I'm going to give you some clues that might help you. So you should be able to see my clues here, where you can't see them actually, but this is to help you answer the first question, what are they? So I'm going to give you some clues. I'm going to start doing a little bit of a reveal here on the pictures. So the pictures are going to give you some clues. You can see that it's revealing bit by bit. Okay, so those are some clues about some of the life skills or life competencies. So they should help you. So we've got some ideas coming into the chat. We've got Katia said collaboration, communication. Hopefully you can see there is communication going on, there is collaboration going on. We've got critical thinking. So I guess we've got somebody trying to solve something here. So maybe critical thinking. What else? Communication, teamwork, nice. Teamwork. So yeah, you can see them working in teams. That is often called collaboration. Any other skills that you can see? There's a nice picture in the bottom left. Any ideas what? Empathy. Is it Yiseth? I'm not sure how to say your name. Yiteh. Sorry about my pronunciation. Empathy was a great spot. Digital, fantastic. Digital skills, digital competencies, says Laura or Laura. Absolutely. Okay. So you can see there lots of these skills being shown. I created these images using AI. So I asked AI to produce some different images for me, and it did this to show the different skills. And that's something that you can use if you're in a position to with your own students. Writing prompts for AI to create the pictures you want you have to be very precise and accurate with your vocabulary. So if you get your students to use AI at all, getting them to create an image using AI is a great practice for them to develop their digital skills. They're going to need them in today's world, but also use their English. Okay, so we're going back to my slides. I'm hoping that they will continue to move on. And I asked you to share lots of ideas, and I can see that you have done really well with listing all of the different competencies. So that was question number 1. You've definitely covered the what are they with more than 3. So of our 3, 2, 1, you've done 3 really easily. Let's just check the answers. So here is the framework. So this is the Cambridge framework for life competencies. And I can see that you have mentioned most of them: creative and critical thinking, learning to learn. I believe someone mentioned communication, collaboration. The ones that were less mentioned were social responsibility, emotional development, and digital literacy. Okay, and these are all new key competencies. And a lot of you are talking in the chat about real life situations in the real world, managing in the real world. And those 3 competencies at the bottom there, social responsibility, emotional development, and digital literacy, are all really important in the modern world. The skills can be divided into thinking and learning skills and social skills. So communication, collaboration, social responsibility, and so on fits into social skills. Thinking and learning skills are things like critical thinking, digital literacies. Okay, and if you are interested in seeing more about the framework in detail, the link here will take you to lots of fantastic detailed information. Okay, so we talked about the what are they, and we've seen a list. Now, question number 2 was, why do we need them? Why do we need them? Why should we do it? And you've been giving lots of fantastic answers, I think, saying attitudes to face challenges. Fantastic. Thank you for that. That was from Diana. And Mirella says they help us in real life to solve problems, to work with others. Fantastic. So I've got there 2 answers from my 3, 2, 1. I said for this one I need at least 2 answers. You've done that as well. So fantastic work, everybody. Well done. Oh, I jumped on too fast. A little bit more detail about why they are important, and you've pinpointed exactly why they are relevant, because they help us in real life. They allow us, as Mirella says in the chat, they allow us to solve problems, work with others, and adapt to life in and outside school. WHO, the World Health Organization, in 1998 have said that good life skills are important to have good health and to avoid social problems. So they see it as a very key part of teaching and learning. In addition to the World Health Organization, UNESCO in 2021 pointed out that beyond the traditional things that we used to focus on in education, reading, writing, literacy, we also need to learn things like collaboration, empathy, connection. So UNESCO have also highlighted life skills as key components in the classroom. Moving on from that, emotional development is more important than people realise. There was a famous article by somebody called Daniel Goleman a couple of years ago, and he did a study which showed that students with good emotional development in general succeed more with their education. They have better outcomes. And that has been confirmed by other studies. You can see a couple referenced here. So emotional development is also useful for academic development. And other studies have shown that good citizens tend to have had good life skills training, be that in the classroom or with their family members. So we can see there are lots of benefits to these skills, lots of things that they can help with. This is um, a survey that was conducted by NACE. NACE are the National Association of Colleges and Employers, based in the US, and they collect or process data on what employers are looking for in relation to education. And they created a list in 2021. I think there are updated ones, but I wasn't able to access them. But this 2021 list, I don't think has changed a great deal. And it shows that what what employers want from students are these skills. So you can see a list of skills there. Now, these skills are kind of, I guess they were what we call soft skills, what we would call life competencies in our classrooms. And they are expected now, in addition to things like literacy, a second language, knowledge of maths or science. So, as well as your basic subject knowledge, employers now are looking for people who have these types of skills. And we can see here some of the life skills, some of the competencies in the framework are directly mentioned. So we have number one, we've got communication skills. We've also got digital skills mentioned. So they are called communication and digital skills in the framework. The other phrases here still fit those life competencies, don't they? So teamwork, for example, is really describing collaboration. We've got, sorry, let me go backwards. Planning and prioritizing and analysis skills, the one above, are really about critical thinking. Having good interpersonal skills really decides or is defined as emotional development. And problem solving, in a way, is somewhat critical thinking, but also creative thinking. So we can see here that essentially the skills that employers are looking for are really covered in life competencies framework. And as educators, I think our job is to make sure not just that we are helping our students to use English really well, but also that we are developing these kinds of skills. So that is why they are important. And I've shown you a few ways to start integrating them into your teaching. When we set up the lesson aims, that was really a kind of learning to learn skill. But it's also showing emotional development, being able to reflect on your own abilities. By working out all of the symbols to understand what the lesson aims were, they're also using critical and creative thinking. I did a picture reveal. I use that with students, for example, to set up a topic. And so I have the picture hidden and I use the reveal tool and I can pause it as it reveals, and they can make guesses about what they think is under the picture, what the picture shows. Again, that is using critical and creative thinking. If any of you like that kind of thing and you don't have a tool already, I've just in the chat, I've just put a website that I use a lot. It's called classtools.net. And it's got a nice reveal tool. You just upload the picture and then it does the reveal for you. So if you have access to interactive whiteboard or something like that, it's a great thing to use. But it's got lots of other nice activities and tools on there. So it's a great resource for teachers. And I also mentioned using AI. I said that I'd created pictures using AI, and I sometimes get my students to do the same because it's a great way to develop their digital skills. So I've already shown you some ways to do this. So I guess we've done our 3, 2, 1. We've talked about number 1 was what are the life competencies, and you gave me more than 3 answers. We've talked about why, number 2, why do we use them? And you gave me more than 2 answers. And we've started to talk about how we can get them into the classroom. And I've shown you some examples already, and we're going to, in the rest of the webinar, look at more examples. So let's just recap a little bit. So I've got another task for you. I've talked quite a lot, so it's time for you to do some work. Here is a little paragraph just summarizing some of what we've done. What I'd like you to do is to think about what the missing words are. So you can put those in the chat. So number 1, there are competencies in the framework. Any ideas what goes into gap number 1? Essentials is great. They are essential, Lena. Dominica has said 8. Ladies saying 8. Nelly the same. We've got Freddie saying 8. We'll find out in a minute. Angie's saying 8. Okay, good. Let's go to, I'll show you the answers in a minute. These are competencies. Oh, everybody is saying key here. Key competencies. We'll see if you're right in a minute. Gosh, lots of people. Diego, Gabriela, Alejandra. Lots of people saying key. They are key competencies in the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework. Number 3, is already a large part of teaching languages. What do we think? So lots of people saying communication. We've got a few other answers. Most people saying communication is already a large part of teaching languages. I agree. Pair and group work allow for, Sandra's already there, collaboration. Sylvia says collaboration. Communicating would be good. Evaristo, thank you. We got collaboration, communication. We'll find out in a minute. Other competencies such as and thinking are often embedded into tasks. What do we think? And critical, got lots of critical coming in. That would be 1C. Critical and what's the second one? Dominica says creative and critical. Laura says creative and critical. We're going to find out in a minute. And then finally, all the competencies are essential in the, Diego said modern very quickly. Alejandra, the same. Alejandra, sorry. Mirella, Celine, lots of moderns coming in. Let's see if you're right. There we go. You were brilliant. Well done, everybody. You did a fantastic job. I don't even need to show you this because you answered all of them. So there we go. A little recap of our 3, 2, 1 questions. 3, 2, 1 is a great thing to do with your students too. You can put 3 questions on the board and you can get them to answer, and you can say you have to do three parts for the first answer, 2 for the second, 1 for the third. So it's a great one to do with the class. And what we've just done, recap, is also a really good thing to do with the class. Obviously this recap is really complicated, but you can do really simple versions. For example, your recap could be, we learnt the words for, and then a couple of pictures, and the students just have to recap the pictures. Why is it a good task to do? Well, it's a good communication task. So here's a suggestion for something you could do, a suggestion for an activity. You could use language to and presentation styles, part of the life skills competencies. When you've done a task, you could invite one student to stand up and recap to explain what the class was, and just in 1 or 2 words what they did. Or you could do it the way I did it, with some sentences for them to fill in, or you could do it with some pictures that they have to match with words. But doing a little recap every now and again encourages the students to participate, and it's a communication skill. And these cards can be found on the link that I showed you before. I'll add it into the chat at the end so you can go and have a look yourself. But it's got some lovely cards. The cards are really useful because it tells you whether it's for young or teenage or adult learners. It tells you the life competency that's being used. It gives you a little summary of how to do the task, and you can adapt it if you prefer. And it gives you a little online option as well. Okay. And sorry, I said I was going to put it into the chat, but here it is if you want to take a screenshot. This link will take you directly to a set of cards that you can download and use. And it's got some fantastic ideas there, and I'm going to show you some of those ideas as we continue with the webinar. Okay. So, everybody okay so far? Do you want to say okay in the chat if you're okay, or put a question mark if you have a question? Oh, lots of okays. Fabulous. Great. No question marks. So again, as I said before, I do this regularly during classes because this is a point where we can pause, and if students are going, or if some of them are going like that, we can say, let's look at it again. Don't worry, let's do it again. So good to do your little check-ins, your self-evaluations. I'll show you some techniques to do that at the end if we have time. So we've been talking about ways of integrating life skills into your lessons without creating too much extra work for you. I know all of you are very busy. So how can we integrate this without it being really hard for the teacher? Because we have to look after ourselves as well, right? So often what you need to do is just notice. So I'm going to show you some little sections from Power Up. Power Up has got life skills embedded within it, but lots of course books have got life skills within them. So one of the key things for you to do as a teacher is just to take note of them and emphasize a little bit more that they are developing that particular skill. So here is a typical little activity. This is from Power Up. You probably see this type of activity in your books too. So this is showing which life skill is it asking students to use here. What's the life skill there of all the ones we've talked about? So it says there, talk about restaurants with a partner, ask and answer. So which of the life skills? Thank you. Sylvia, Lara have both said communication. Absolutely right. Those are generally very typically found in all course books. So make sure you're doing lots of group work because you are going to get lots of communication. Pair and group work encourages that. In this one, in this second one, they're playing a guessing game. So they have to work together to guess an answer using, I think it's to practice. So the aim is to practice relative clauses, as you can see from the highlight. Our English teacher brains immediately look at the language, but they're also having to work together. So anything like this, you're encouraging collaboration. So again, you can just emphasize that. Good teamwork, guys. Well done for working together so nicely. Praise not just for their language, but also if they've been helpful to each other. Here's another task. This one is a little language box from Power Up because they have little language boxes. And it's talking about whether something's your cup of tea or not. And it asks, is there something that's not your cup of tea? So we're asking them to think about their feelings, their preferences. So we got some emotional development going on there. And here as well, they are talking about their preferences in terms of food. What's your favourite healthy breakfast? But they're also being asked to think about whether it is healthy or not. This is an activities focused on nutrition. So as well as emotional skills, here we've got some critical thinking. They have to look at the different food and kind of assess what do they think is a healthy breakfast. Okay, so what we're doing here is just noticing. Some more examples. In this one, they have to create a healthy menu. So this is part of the mission. Now, in this case, create a healthy menu, it's got the word in there, it's creative thinking. To do that, they have to be creative. Here, they're being asked to tick healthy foods and put a cross for unhealthy ones, and then create a menu. So there's a bit of creative thinking, but there's also some critical thinking there. In this part, they have to complete the information in the table, and it says use the internet to help you. Now, not all course books suggest using the internet or using devices. If it's allowed in your school or you have lessons where you have a computer lesson or a lesson where it is allowed, you can use digital devices to get them to do tasks, obviously developing their digital skills. I mentioned creating AI pictures earlier. And then finally, we've got more emotional development and learning to learn. That wasn't in our list, but it is another of the life competencies, learning to learn, being a good learner. So Power Up has lots of self-assessment. Even if your book doesn't have it though, you can add this in. So as you can see in the teacher's notes, for Power Up, I wrote using thumbs as a teacher's guide because it's a really quick, simple way to do a bit of self-assessment. So one thing you can do as a teacher is to notice where you see the activities, but you can also add your own activities without too much work. There are lots of ideas on the nice activity cards I showed you. Here's an example of one. So you can say, once you've finished teaching a lesson, you could write a new word on the board. For example, I could put communication on the board. Or you could, and you can just say to them, I don't understand, point at it, I don't understand. Can you help me? What is it? And get them to explain to you, or to draw, or to mime. If you were doing sports vocabulary, they could mime it. If you are doing some adjectives, they could try and give you an example of when you might use the adjective. So saying I don't understand is a great way to encourage communication. Here's another task you can do. I've got 5 words here. What do you think is the odd one out and why? What's the odd word out and why? Have a quick look. Can you put some ideas into the chat box? Odd one out. What's the odd one out and why? You can put any ideas you have. Don't worry about getting it right or wrong. Any ideas that you've got. Sylvia says healthy because it ends with a Y. Great idea. Spelling thing. Diasu or Diachu says difficult. Dominica says healthy. We're getting difficult and healthy coming up. Angie says healthy. Sandra says difficult. Why are they the odd ones out? Can you tell me why it might be difficult? Because it's hard to do. Okay. Thank you, Edwin. Alejandra says good. Why is that the odd one out? Olivia's saying it's because it's an irregular adjective. Nice. So we're thinking about the word form. Wonderful. Okay. Could be because it's an irregular word. Any other ideas? You could argue something like life is the key factor. So you could say fast is the odd one out because, well, my reason, Marco's chosen fast as well. My reason, Marco said it's an adverb. Okay, thank you. Can be an adjective as, it's fast. No, it can't. You're right. Another word class idea. Great. Diasu, Diachu, I'm sorry, I'm probably saying your name really badly, says difficult. It's not an adjective for food. I was thinking fast because you can have a dangerous life, a difficult life, a healthy life, or a good life. We don't usually say fast life. So I thought it could be that. Do you want to know the answer? Do you want to know the answer? Probably yes, right? There is no answer. Yes, yes. Okay, Thursday said lol. There is no answer. It doesn't matter what your students say. The really key thing is that they justify their reasoning. Okay? So long as they can give you a reason for saying it's the odd one out, it's correct. Why not? There isn't an odd one out here. I gave a list of words from a unit. So this was a unit on how healthy living. And I quite often do this. I might do it at the end of a unit. Throw some words up. Which one's the odd one out and why? Put the students into groups. Communication, right? Communication. Critical thinking. Critical thinking. Sometimes I get them to agree which word. You have to try and agree as well on one. Critical thinking, communication, collaboration. 3 skills, and all I had to do was pick out the 5 words. Now, I've been doing this for quite a long time, but I was really pleased to see it appeared in the cards. So I actually already knew this. I don't know if I got it from 5-minute activities or from somewhere else, but I've been doing it for years and years and years. And it's another one of those suggestions in the cards. You can see really quick to do, really effective. And it can get your students talking for ages, arguing for ages, and it's 0 work for you guys. So really helpful. And here's another task that you could do. If you were telling another teacher how to do the odd word out activity in class, what would you tell them? Can you create 3 steps? Could you write 3 steps so another teacher could do this activity? So you would write step 1, step 2, step 3. What would your 3 steps be? I showed you a little box saying step 1, step 2, step 3. What would your 3 steps be for telling another teacher how to do this activity and giving them the information they need? Any thoughts in the chat box? I'm hoping everyone is typing away and have just not finished yet. Any thoughts on what you would put into your 3 steps? Nothing coming through at the moment. So, there we go. Sylvia says, choose new vocabulary, put your students into groups, give them time to discuss. That's 3 steps. Thanks, Sylvia. That's great. We'll see if any more come through while you are typing, if you are typing. This is another thing. Lino, thank you. Lino has said step 1, group the students. Step 2, give the students the words. Step 3, let them discuss. So very similar. Okay, but you've created different steps. So again, this is a really nice thing to get students to do. If you've given them a task, for example, I said you could get them to create something from AI or give them an activity to do. Before they do the activity, use a frame like this and get them to agree the steps they're going to follow in their groups. So not only are they doing group work, they're also collaborating on how to do the group work. Remember what we said about employers? Employers are looking for people who can collaborate, agree on jobs that need doing in employment and how to follow a process. So you're starting to develop, even with young learners, a sense of how to collaborate, work out stages and steps to get a job done before they do it. Okay. Other ways that you can ensure that students get collaboration and communication practice without doing any extra work, do make sure that you include peer checks as a routine. So every time my students do a task, after the task, I never go straight to what's the answer, what's the answer, what's the answer. They always compare their answers in pairs before we do any feedback. That peer check is really important. First of all, it raises their confidence. Secondly, they're more likely to speak if they have a chance to work with someone else, is less being put on the spot with their own answer. If they get it wrong, they're like, well, we all discussed it, so we all got it wrong. So it's a really useful thing to do after any task and before you do a full class feedback. And include lots of shared tasks regularly. Get them brainstorming ideas together. If you've asked them to write something, let them brainstorm ideas together rather than on their own. Use lots of chanting and songs, especially with younger learners. That helps them to collaborate, work together, as do role plays, creating posters and playing games. I'm sure that you do all of these things already, but just a reminder that it's a great thing to do. I'm going to pick up on a couple of other things, and I might skip over a couple of slides because we haven't got lots of time left. I always plan to do too much. But social responsibility, a lot of social responsibility is about understanding other cultures. One thing that you can do, for example, is make sure you've got a map of the world somewhere in your classroom. I always had one in my language classrooms, and we often refer to it. So if we were doing stuff on food, for example, we would talk about, what kind of food do you think they have here? What kind of food here? If we were talking about weather, the same thing, we would look at the map. So not just talking about the weather in our country, but also around the world. And again, you can do this online. If you've got a digital note board, you could put a world map on there. That's something like Padlet. You can get people to use sticky notes. Okay, and just getting them to think more globally helps them with intercultural awareness, a sense of social cohesion. Here's an example from Power Up. Typical in course books, things like city focus, create a booklet for a city trip is one of the missions, or what's your favourite place in the cities. And if you're doing something like that, so in this unit, for example, they learned lots of vocabulary about cities and life in cities. But here, when I've done something along those lines of giving them vocabulary, I might then just add in something like this. So I teach at the moment in the UK, and after we've done something like this, I might show them a picture and say, this is a different country. How is it similar to where we live? How is it different? Is there anything you notice that's similar, anything that's different? And then they can compare and talk about those similarities and differences. So using pictures is a really quick way to pop in some extra focus. I'm going to pop over these ones because we haven't got a lot of time left. Okay, so far, how you doing? Got some okays coming in. Thank you, Cynthia. Lots of okays coming in. Thank you, Susanna. Great. Thank you, Diana. Thanks, Eilis. Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks, Gino. Patricia, you're also fantastic. Thank you for participating. So just in our last couple of minutes, I just wanted to pick up on the concept of assessment. So as you've seen, I have been checking in with you all the way through. So at various points, I've stopped and said, okay, we're not going to have time to do this. Sorry, guys. But one of the key things that you need to do, I'll go back and show you that little game at the end if anyone wants to stay on. But as a teacher, it's really important that you identify your outcomes for students and show them what success looks like. And also check in on how they are doing. And you can establish what they need to achieve. We did it at the beginning. I said our aims are these, and I used emojis. We can use gapped text, or we can show them an example of what they're going to do in the lesson. If they've got an essay or writing an email, you could show them the email, a good version. What does it look like? And you can get them to work out by guessing what the outcomes might be. and putting it up onto a big poster on the side of the board. Lots of ways to show what they are going to achieve. And that is part of the teacher's role. So at the beginning of our session, I talked about what we were going to achieve. And I also, as we were doing the session, I was asking you to give me your thumbs up, thumbs down. With students, I'll often also be taking little notes, just really simple notes that are quick. So as well as their self-assessment, I've got an idea of how they are doing. And that self-assessment is really important for their learning to learn skills. Okay, and then finally, these learning to learn skills are really important. It develops them into effective lifelong learners. All they have to do is participate and engage. So you can do various things at the end of your lesson. You can use an exit slip. 3 things you've learnt in class today. This is an example from an art lesson. You could do it for your lessons. I often use red and green baskets. Put your book in the green basket if you're confident, in the red basket if you're not. Sometimes I use a thermometer on the wall, so they'd say if they are happy or not. They can use a sticky note. So we have a huge thermometer, and they can put a sticky note with their name at the top if they're feeling confident, and lower down if they are not. Always to develop their self-assessment. So unfortunately we couldn't cover all of it, but so I'm going to jump over this bit. But I hope that you managed to pick up which life competencies we should be attending to, and some ideas about how you can use them in class. So in the session, we said we were going to think about life competencies and how we could adapt our course book or add them in. I'm not going to make you write your ideas in the box or your summaries in the box because we're short of time. But I will stop now and ask you if you have any questions about the things we've been talking about. Have you got any questions for me before we finish? Thank you for the comments. Thanks, Carolina. Thank you. Estefania, thank you. No questions from Rotimi, thank you. Oh gosh, they're going by really fast, so I can't see all of them. I can't see any questions so far.
I think it was pretty clear.
Oh, great. Superfractalocalcialisticexpialidocious presentation. Thank you so much for that comment. That's the best comment I've ever had, I think. The thermometer success. So you have a big thermometer on the wall, and I don't know if you were asking me to repeat it or if you're saying it would be a success, but the students can put sticky notes down it, and if they're confident they go at the top, and if they're not, it's at the bottom. Hopefully most of you are putting your sticky notes at the top of my thermometer. I hope that you got lots of tips. Remember all of the ideas I showed you, even if you're not using Power Up, please do. It's a great book, but if you're not using it, you can use all of the ideas with whichever materials you're using. Okay. Oh, thank you for the hearts, Lena. Thank you, Edwin. Thank you, Mariana.
I'd just like to say thank you very much, Stephanie. Brilliant ideas. I think everyone loved them. So thank you very much for sharing all your ideas. And I'd like to say also to the attendees that this webinar was recorded, so you will get the recording link with the follow-up email. All right, so you will have that for you to go back and watch it again. So I think that's all. Steph, would you like to add anything else, or?
Just thank you so much. You've all been fantastic. Thank you for your hard work in the chat.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.